AncientGreymon and Red Hybrids is one of my most anticipated decks to play for the BT7 format. And just like always, I got the perfect guide for all of you who are wanting to learn on how to play this deck. Hello Digimon players and fans, welcome back to another Digimon deck profile and in-depth building guide video. Many of us saw the hype of AncientGreymon coming in this format. We got lots of Red Hybrid support and one of the coolest newest boss Digimon, which is Emperor Greymon. But do you know what's even cooler? Well, that is the subscribe button right here, and that is because we got lots more of BT7 deck profiles and guides coming up real soon. And you certainly don't want to miss out. Also, give this video a like while you're at it because it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. So let's go back into the introduction. There are actually quite a few ways to build AncientGreymon and Red Hybrids. The approach I decided to go with is sort of the more traditional stack building with Digivolving. That is because I wanted to highlight the key explosiveness of this deck and even potentially take out 5 of your opponent's security stacks in one go. And some of you guys might be wondering, how is that actually possible? Well, don't worry, that is because we got a combo guide right afterwards to show you guys how to pull it off. Also, with DigiFest coming up real soon, I will also include some of my personal side deck options to help you fully equip yourselves for the event. So let's just jump straight into the deck profile, shall we? Like we always do, let's begin with the Digi Egg Cards. Starting off with our new Digi Egg from BT7, the red one, we have 4 copies of the Cherubimon and then 1 copy of the MagnaGarurumon right here from BT6. So let's talk about the new Cherubimon first. This basically gives our Digimon extra 1000 DP while we control a Tamer. So this is a red Tamer hybrid deck. We're always going to have a Tamer on board. It's going to happen very common, very likely, because that's the whole synergy of the deck. So this is really the new best egg for the red deck, essentially, for playing this specific build. And I would definitely max out this one on board. As for MagnaGarurumon, since our deck is very aggressive, we swing into the opponent's security all the time, we get that extra 1000 DP for when attacking a player, which I think it is the second best egg to run for this deck as well. So that'll be our Digi Egg. To begin with our rookies, let's showcase you guys the newest Flamemon in BT7. This one has a hard play cost of 3, and then it has 1000 DP. Now I really like about this one because it has 2 effects. It has one on play and an inherited effect. On play, you basically get to search and you get to get a Susanomon or Takuya or a hybrid in its trait, which is really crucial. Searching is the key for this deck to basically help you get more power and gather your combo pieces. And then for the inheritable is that on deletion you can play a Takuya without paying memory cost. Now I really like this new level 3s right here because it gives you the capability of using its on play effect or inherited effects so that you don't feel as bad when you have to digivolve if you have to, just so that you can get the draws. And I really like that fact because then it gives you the versatility to be a bit more adaptable when the playstyle and you're not forced to be bricky. For the next Flamemon, we have the BT4 Flamemon. This one is also the key searcher. This one reviews the top 3 and then you get to add a Tamer and a hybrid that's red. Essentially a red Tamer as well. That's your really good searching other one. You want to keep searching as much as you can with these Flamemons essentially. So that will be it for that one. Then for the last Flamemon, we do have the 4 copies from the BT6 with only solely giving a inheritable, giving all our hybrids piercing. Essentially anything that digivolves on top of him will gain that piercing, which is really good. Especially strong for our boss and level 6 Digimons out there so that we can basically swing over opponent's Digimon and do security checks at the same time. We know that's just a really good card too. And then next, for our sort of white rookies or the new white package for hybrids, I like to play 2 Bokomons and 1 Nemon. Bokomon and both Nemon are new additions to really heavily support hybrid and give you so much value when playing them. Bokomon, first of all, is a searcher. By revealing top 5 cards from your hand, you can add a hybrid or Tamer in its traits and a Tamer card among them, and then add them to your hand, place everything back to the rest of the bottom. But also its second effect is just absolutely insane because it lets you digivolve essentially into your hybrids. When you digivolve your hybrids on top of your Tamer, you basically gain your 2 memory back. All our hybrids are essentially essentially 2 costs in most cases. So you basically Digivolve for free, and then you also get to draw for Digivolving, so you're getting a lot of value when you play Pokemon. As for Nemon, I like to play one of, simply because when you play it, you can play a tamer for free. And then its other secondary effect also helps you cycle back your tamers when you need to. So keeping a consistent amount of tamers is always very nice. This is why I like the 2-in-1 ratio. But if some of you guys want to play triple Pokemon, I would definitely suggest and go for that as well, because Pokemon is also really good by itself. That will be all of our rookies. So let's move into our level 4s, and we're going to showcase you basically a bunch of the hybrids essentially. The first one we're going to talk about is this promo Agunimon. This one has been out quite a while, ever since the release of BT4. This one basically lets you skip and jump Digivolve all the way to your AncientGreymon very quickly, easily when attacking when you swing into it. And it also has a inheritable of when Digivolving one of your Digimon into AncientGreymon in your hand, reduce its Digivolution cost by 2. So it really helps you get into your AncientGreymon as fast as you can, as fast as you want, quickly, so that you can play your aggressive style and get into your opponent's securities as fast as you can. And then for our other Agunimon, we got the classic easy simple one from the BT4. This one doesn't have too much effects, but it simply just lets you Digivolve on top of your tamer for a cost of 2, so you can make extra checks, make multiple swings. Sometimes you can build a stack with it if you really need to, but it's more preferred that you use it just for additional checks essentially. It doesn't do anything else. Then we got a new Burning Greymon from BT7, and I would definitely play a 4 of in this deck 100%. So you know, it seems like it does a lot of things, but really just to help you guys digest what it really means is you can Digivolve this on top of a tamer for a cost of 2 essentially, making it even better than the older Agunimon essentially, because it can do more things than it in addition to just Digivolving. It's got more DP. Also, when Digivolving, if you have a Digimon that's hybrid underneath it, or if you have a tamer essentially, you can basically pop your opponent's Digimon with 4,000 DP or less. Now, this is basically just a better version of the Agunimon, of the old one, 100,000%. I would, love to play like 8 copies of these if I can, because it's simply just so good. Also, keep in mind you can Digivolve this on top of a level 3 for 3 costs, but mainly you can also slide Digivolve on top of another level 4 just by paying 1 memory, which is really nice as well. So a lot of versatility to, proc its effects. That'll be all our level 4s. Now let's talk about our level 5s. And we only play one kind of level 5, essentially, and that is the 4 copies of Aldomon. This Aldomon came out in BT7 as well, giving a lot of power and support to the whole red hybrid archetype. So just like any other level 5 hybrid, this can Digivolve on top of another Digimon that has a tamer as one of its sources by reducing 2 Digivolution costs essentially. So you can Digivolve this on top of a Burning Greymon or a Agunimon for 1, as long as essentially a tamer is underneath, which is really good. And then afterwards, when Digivolving, if there's a hybrid in its traits, this Digimon will gain 4,000 DP for the turn. And bringing up this card all the way to 12,000 DP allows you to swing over many things. Combos very well with the Piercing Flamemon, which we saw earlier, but also you can do checks and really safely swing in, which is really good. And this is why this Aldomon is really powerful. And the other thing is it also has a inheritable of, while this Digimon has hybrid or 10 warrior in its traits, it doesn't activate security effects on option cards that it checks. So it is basically a built-in ADP to help support your level 6s essentially, which is really good. So that is it for level 5s. Level 6, we of course have the 4 copies of AncientGreymon right here. This is an AncientGreymon based deck, so that's why I play the 4 copies of AncientGreymon. It does a whole lot of things as well, but basically it gains security +1 during your turn for each hybrid in its Digivolution sources. This card is essentially your boss Digimon, your powerhouse of this deck, where you make multiple checks in one swing, which is really powerful in taking out your opponent's security. This is the all aggressiveness you want to go for, and that's basically your win condition, by taking out all your opponent's security as quickly as possible so that you can swing for game. So this is basically what AncientGreymon does. Moving on to our subsidiary or secondary level 6, I like to play the 2 copies of Emperor Greymon. This new edition of this card is just really cool. I love the artwork and the design of this Digimon to begin with anyways, but first it has when Digivolving Blitz, allowing you to swing over even if your memory passes over to your opponent just before you end your turn. And then also it has a secondary effect which works really well with the new tamer, which we will get to talk about just in a bit. Basically is that if this Digimon is ever blocked, you get to gain a memory for each Digivolution cards in this Digimon with hybrids in its traits. And you can gain a lot of memory and pressure your opponent and gain a lot of value if they were to basically try and block you at times as well. So this is why I like AncientGreymon as a 2-up. That will be all of our Digimon. So let's talk about our tamers. Of course, the newest tamer right here, we have Takuya right here. Takuya is your essential tamer to play in this deck because it helps support your entire AncientGreymon and your whole hybrid line essentially. Security, you basically get to play it for free. So its main effect is that once per turn, you can place 5 Digimon with hybrids in its traits underneath this tamer as sources and digivolve into a AncientGreymon from your hand by paying its Digivolution cost of 4, and essentially as if this guy was a level 5 Digimon. So that basically tells you guys and explains how it works so well along with AncientGreymon, because you're putting a bunch of hybrids under its traits, and if your opponent were to block it, essentially you can gain 5 memory back whenever you try to swing in and they try to block, which is really good. It also gives the inheritable of extra 2000 DP, and while that Digimon has 10,000 or more DP, it gains security +1, reinforcing the aggressiveness that you can play within this deck for doing a lot of security checks. This is why Takuya must be a 4-up. For the other tamer that we play the original Tai, basically to set our memory to 3, which is really crucial, and we want to see that as often as we can, which is why we have to play 3 copies of these. But also it really helps combo very well when you do want to digivolve and build your AncientGreymon stack, so that you can gain another security +1, and there are times that you can actually just blow up all your opponent's security in one go with 5 checks or 4 checks, which is really insane. And that's the reason why we play Tai. So that'll be all of our tamers. Now let's move into the options. We do have quite a handful of different kinds of options to help us adapt to different situations and have a different, more fun play style. But the first one is Atomic Inferno right here from BT4. One of your Digimon with hybrids in its traits gain 3000 DP with security +1 as well for the turn, which is really strong. Also, when it attacks and if the Digimon is blocked, you gain 3 memory back, and just for the cost of 1 is extremely good. Also secondary, it has a security effect where when it activates that all of your Digimon also gains security +1 for your next turn essentially, and this basically helps push out the all-out aggressiveness of this deck, and really again very similar where you're just trying to add more security checks with various effects so that you can blow up your opponent's security in one go essentially, and that's how you gain advantage with it. Next, let's showcase some of the removal type of option cards. So we first have the newest one, which is Gigastorm, 2 copies of it, and then we have another 2 copies of Trident Revolver. For Gigastorm, at first, Gigastorm is just really good in this format because it lets you delete 2 of your opponent's Digimon with 8000 DP or less. And with this hybrid format, you know, people tend to go quite wide with 8000 DP or lower Digimon essentially, and being able to pop both is just really good. As for Trident Revolver, I think it's just a really good card to combo with tamers in general, because you can pop something that your opponent has at 6000 DP or less, and then you can also play a tamer that has 4 costs or less, and you can play both either your Takuya or your Tai, which is really nice and giving you a lot of value when you do so. And then the security effect basically lets you activate its main effect as well. So these are my 2 removal type of options. Next, I want to play One Gravity Crush. One Gravity Crush is almost basically like the red version of Hammer Spark for the deck. When you need to go for those game-winning plays and need that extra memory, you play Gravity Crush so that you can buy yourself more memory and then go for those basically game-winning plays, essentially. So that's really what this card is really for, and yeah, why else? It's 0 cost. So the final option, which I kind of find like a really nice tech, is I played a new option, which is Evolution Ancient right here. Now this is a white option card, but it does have a first effect where if you have a Digimon with hybrid in its traits, you can basically play this card without meeting its color requirements. And what it really lets you do is basically it helps you jump Digivolve your level 4 straight into your level 6, which is Ancient Grey of this deck, by paying its memory cost, but then you get to ignore the level, which is really nice. Sometimes this card is just really good, especially in the early game, because then you can use this option, go straight into an Ancient Grey and do multiple checks once again, and sort of start applying some pressure right off in the beginning to get yourself a bit of momentum, which is really nice. So overall, all these options that I have in the main deck can be considered your flex points or your potential cards that you can easily substitute along with your side deck. And mainly, I would say Gigastorm is the card that can easily substitute depending on what type of removal you really need in your matchup. Trident Revolver as well. and then as well as Gravity Crush. I kind of usually want to keep Gravity Crush in the main deck and Atomic Inferno and try not to side them out. But let's just say if you really desperately need more different kinds of removal, because removal is just more important and you want to play a bit more control style against that specific matchup, taking out Atomic Inferno can work as well. And then last but not least, Evolution Ancient is just really more of a personal tech choice that I like to play around with and experiment at the moment, so it's easily also a card that I can swap out for one of the side deck cards essentially. So there's also one more card I kind of do as a honorable mention, or like a potential card I actually would think it's really good and suited for this deck, and that is actually Analog Youth. Now, Analog Youth combos very well along with the promo Agunimon, where you get to jump Digivolve, and then you can pop, you can use your AncientGreymon to attack the security, and your AncientGreymon pops, and then Analog Youth will give you value back by giving you a memory, which in some cases you can retain your turn at 0 with it, and you get to hatch an egg, which is really nice, and it just works very nice in synergy. However, I personally like to do the building style, building like a Digivolution Source style stack with this deck generally, which is why I decided not to play with it, but it's still a very nice other alternative build you guys can go for as well. So jumping into our side deck cards, let's show you guys what I first have is basically 2 copies of Gaussmon. Gaussmon is just great because it counters mostly the hybrid format, really good against the other matchups where they would also play the level 5 hybrid, where they can easily reduce their Digivolution cost, and Gaussmon basically denies that, so I would definitely play 2 on the side deck. The other 2 more cards I have, which is also the other 2 copies of Atomic Inferno inside here. Some matchups you really just need to go super all out aggressive as soon as you can, and that is basically your win condition. Since this deck is so aggressive to begin with, why not just go even more aggressive against other fast-paced decks? Fast-paced decks would sometimes can be the other hybrid decks like yellow, green, and blue. They can be relatively fast as well. Or if you're facing against a mirror match against another sort of red hybrid, why not you go even more aggressive than they do? And being able to play the Atomic Inferno allows you to do, once again, more checks, more security checks, establish your control and momentum of the game overall, which is why I like the 2 up in the side deck, just to basically put in. So moving into our other next 2 options, we have the alternative removals, where I have 2 Atomic Blasters and 2 Gaia Forces. Atomic Blaster is just really good when you want to pop a wide board, because you can accumulate multiple Digimons up to 8,000 DP. It's also really cheap because it only has 5 memory costs to pay. As for Gaia Force, when you're facing against certain matchups where they have a really strong 1 Digimon that you just really need to get rid of, Gaia Force is your go-to essentially. That will be your top end remover to basically get rid of the big boss Digimon your opponent has, and it's always just better when you need to do that instead with Gaia Force. And then last but not least, we do have 2 ADPs inside this deck. Now, I did mention earlier with the level 5 Aldomon, it does give inherited ADP essentially, which is really nice, but there's sometimes when you do multiple checks and you're not able to grow your stack in that particular way, you want to be very careful. So having 2 copies of ADP, which is really good against security control decks that might have really obnoxious security that you might want to be wary of, or it might hard counter you by any chance. So ADP is always a good safety option, safety net to always have to use and play to help you out in those situations. Now that we got the deck profile and the side deck completed and showcased you guys, let's hop on into some talking about a few of my combos and play styles that I like to approach when playing this deck. So the very first most ideal perfect combo that you will really want to have is, first you want to hatch your egg. Ideally it will be Cherubimon. You want to digivolve into the Flamemon to have the piercing, and then afterwards you want to have the Agunimon, the promo one, which reduces the Digivolution cost of your AncientGreymon, and then you would top it off with the Aldomon ready to go. Now moving into your next turn, passing it back to you, you want to, of course, always you would need 3 memory to begin with to really pull off most combos anyways, so ideally having the tie really helps out, and it just really works. So once you're ready to go, you move up your Aldomon, and basically you can digivolve Aldomon into your AncientGreymon for 3 because you have your Agunimon. Now your AncientGreymon will have security plus 1, 2, 3, and it will do 4 checks plus the 5 checks with Takuya right here, blowing up your opponent's security. And in addition, you have your Aldomon, which gives you the built-in ADP, and also you will have Flamemon with piercing, so that you can basically swing over your opponent's Digimon and still conduct the 5 checks. And then with Cherubimon, your AncientGreymon essentially is now 14k, and it stays and sticks to the board essentially, which is really awesome. So that's the ideal combo of basically almost one-shotting your opponent's security all in one go. For the second type of combo to showcase you guys, all you really need is Takuya, and then you need 3 memory. So what you want to do is basically digivolve your Burning Greymon on top of Takuya, and then Takuya will have giving it extra 2000 DP, and then if you do reach the 1000 DP for this turn, it gains another security +1. So right here, you just resolve your Burning Greymon's effect first to delete your opponent's 4000 DP. And then afterwards, you'll be at 1 so that you can digivolve into Agunimon for 1 essentially. You can go all the way to 12,000 DP and plus another 2,000, which is 14,000 DP with the Takuya and security +1 for 2 checks, which is really good. And you can basically swing in for 14 right here for 2 checks if you wish, but sometimes in a alternative situation, if you have Emperor Greymon, I would actually even give the opponent 4 memory and go into an Emperor Greymon so that I can actually swing in for the 2 checks at 14,000 DP plus the other 4,000 of Aguinimon's prior effect, because keep in mind that, you know, the effects and the buffs do bring over until the end of the turn. So you basically bring your Emperor Greymon all the way to 18k DP with security +1, 2 checks with blitz, and also with a built-in ADP effect right there, so that you won't get surprised by any options. That will conclude my very own deck building guide, strategy, and in-depth guide for the AncientGreymon Red Hybrid deck. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. I'm actually also planning to make a budget version of this deck that solely focuses on Emperor Greymon instead. So if you guys are just as excited and want to see it soon, then make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. We also got lots more other deck profiles coming up real soon, so you definitely want to stay tuned. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video. This is AVAULT, signing out.